In this lesson, we'll be creating this heart model. It's simplified, but we've tried to make it look as realistic as we can. It's created with air dry clay, and then we'll be painting it with acrylic paints. A while ago, we created this brain model, and we got some pretty good feedback, so we decided to create a heart model to accompany it. We've come up with a pretty cool way to mount it so the heart can be removed. So let's get into it. For this project, we need a little bit of stuff, but most of it you should have lying around. The first is a palette of some sort. A 30 by 30 centimetre painting board, this will be for our base. A drill with a 3/16 size bit. A 3/16 booker rod. 3 washers, 3 nuts, 1 round nut, all in 3/16 sizing. A paper drinking straw, a roll of double-sided tape, a roll of clear tape, a roll of aluminium foil, 2 pairs of pliers, 1 set of flat nose and 1 long nose, some scissors, a 500 gram block of white clay, and an assortment of modelling tools. To paint our heart, we'll be using a tube of brilliant red, a tube of rose madder or crimson, and some phthalo blue, and these are all in the acrylic colour range. We'll also be using some yellow pink in the Satin Series acrylic. To apply our paint, we'll be using a large flat Taklon brush, and we'll also be using some tissues. At the end of the project, we applied some gloss acrylic varnish. This is optional, but it gives an authentic glistening look. So first we need to create the stand for our heart to sit on. Mark the centre of the board and drill a neat hole. Cut the booker rod to length by using the printout as a guide. And screw the nuts on to the uncut end. Screw them down to the cut end on a washer. Place the booker rod through the timber board from the bottom, then place another washer over the rod, and then another nut and screw it down. And tighten the nuts from the top and the bottom using pliers. Cut a straw for the bottom part of the stand using the printout and place it over the booker rod. Then screw a nut down onto the top of the first straw. Then place a washer over the nut. Cut the second straw and place it over the rod so it sits on the nut on top of the first straw. Finally, screw on a round head nut onto the top of the booker rod. Next, we need to bulk out the heart armature with alfoil. So that the alfoil doesn't spin inside the armature, we wrap some double-sided tape around the straw and adhere the foil to it. While you're here, don't forget to take a look around the Create section on our website and uncover a whole heap of free stuff. From free projects, handy tips and tricks and techniques to keep you busy. And continue to build up until we have reached the correct shape. Ideally, the heart should be in the correct shape, only 90% smaller than what we want the finished size with clay. Now we can start sculpting. Open up some clay and cut the block in half lengthways. This will give us 2 slabs around 1 centimetre thick. Use one of these to wrap around the alfoil armature. Try to make sure that the thickness is as consistent as you can and smooth it off. If you dip your hands in water, it makes smoothing the clay out easier. Next, we roll a long tube, approximately the thickness of a finger. Cut this roll into 4 pieces and using the end of a pencil, create a hollow in one end of each tube. Refer to the second printout and we can add these tubes one at a time onto the top of our heart. The end to be connected to the heart can be cut at an angle and then smoothed onto the heart. apply the second tube to the first, and then apply the third tube next to that. We can then take the last tube and apply it to the third tube. Next we apply little bits of clay onto the side of our heart. These are called auricles. There is one of these on the right side and one on the left side. From here, we can scratch into the model with a sharp tool to create details that would look like veins. We can also use a sharp tool to score ribs into the top of each tube at the top of the heart. Once we are happy, we can let our heart dry, and this can take approximately 2 to 3 days. Sometimes when your clay dries, you may notice small cracks have formed. This is very normal, as when the water content of the clay evaporates, the clay shrinks and cracks form. The good news is these cracks can easily be prepared by dampening the crack and packing it with fresh rolls of clay. These can then be blended smooth with a wet brush and allowed to dry. We can now paint our heart. And the first step is to paint the heart with yellow pink and allow this to fully dry. Next we create a rich deep red from crimson and a touch of phthalo blue. Quickly cover the entire heart with this colour, and while it is still wet, wipe off the excess with a tissue. The beauty of this is that it will remain in the creases and the hollows of our heart. Once we are happy with the amount of paint removed, we allow this to dry. Next we paint in the highlights with straight brilliant red and allow this to dry. The next step is optional, but we think it really adds to the realism, and it is to paint the heart with acrylic gloss varnish. Well, thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this project and really hope you try your hand at making your own heart. Otherwise, have fun creating and we'll see you in the next one.